State of Cannabis.
This is the State of Cannabis News Digest, a roundup of this week's key developments in the cannabis industry.
Don't scroll for hours to stay in the know. We've done the work for you. Every Saturday morning, we break down the national cannabis news into one quick 10-minute episode. Easy to follow, hard to miss. Subscribe now and never fall behind.
Our top stories.
California-based Steezy has denied allegations of marijuana inversion in New York as state officials probe several brands for possible violations of cannabis law. Maryland lawmakers passed a bill to shield low-level marijuana convictions from public view and expand expungement eligibility. Connecticut restructures its cannabis oversight framework. Texans gathered at the Capitol to oppose Senate Bill 3 and House Bill 28, which could ban or heavily restrict hemp products containing THC.
And now here is the deeper look at the key events in the cannabis world this week.
Maryland is taking major steps to expand cannabis justice. Lawmakers passed a bill that will automatically hide pardoned marijuana convictions from public view and make it easier for people to expunge cannabis-related records. This follows Governor Wes Moore's mass pardon of over 175,000 such convictions last year. The bill also removes some restrictions on expungement eligibility, such as the need to complete probation first. Governor Moore is expected to sign the bill into law soon.
New York's cannabis market is under fresh scrutiny. State regulators have launched an investigation into California-based cannabis giant Steezy and several other brands. They're accused of illegally bringing marijuana grown outside New York into the state's legal supply chain, a practice called inversion that's banned under state and federal law. Investigators conducted surprise audits at Omnium Canna, a licensed processor on Long Island, suspected of acting as a middleman. Brands reportedly involved, including Grown, M-Fused, and To the Moon, have denied any wrongdoing. Steezy says inspections found no violations. If proven, these allegations could hit local growers, hurt consumer safety, and further destabilize New York's already fragile legal cannabis industry.
In Minnesota, a state judge ordered the Office of Cannabis Management to reinstate a canceled lottery for social equity cannabis licenses. That lottery, meant to give early business opportunities to communities harmed by past marijuana laws, had been delayed for months over legal challenges. Just days later, Minnesota's proposed cannabis regulations were approved without changes. Together, these rulings mean Minnesota can soon start issuing licenses and opening legal cannabis businesses. More than 1,700 social equity applicants now have a renewed shot at joining the industry. While Minnesota's rollout has been slower than other states, officials say the focus remains on fairness, public safety, and building an inclusive market.
Connecticut's cannabis market is evolving, with entrepreneurs and regulators both pushing for major changes as the industry grows. Social equity cannabis entrepreneurs are urging lawmakers to amend a 2021 rule that requires them to maintain majority ownership of their businesses for 7 years. Many argue that the restriction, intended to protect community-based ownership, now limits their ability to adapt, raise capital, or exit struggling ventures in an increasingly competitive market. A newly proposed House bill proposes shortening the ownership requirement to 3 years. Supporters say the change is critical for small business survival, while opponents warn it could lead to corporate buyouts and weaken the state's social equity goals. At the same time, Connecticut has created a new cannabis-focused division within the Department of Consumer Protection, separating oversight of cannabis from pharmaceutical regulation. The move was accelerated after controversy over an unannounced inspection raised concerns about regulatory fairness. With cannabis sales now topping tens of millions monthly, the state says dedicated oversight will help manage the growing complexity of the industry. Officials aim for more responsive and specialized governance as dispensaries, cultivators, and consumers expand across Connecticut.
North Dakota's Senate has voted down a bill that was going to make low-level marijuana possession a non-criminal offense. The proposal, which passed the House earlier this year, would have treated possession of less than half an ounce like a traffic ticket, a $150 fine without court appearances. Supporters argued it would ease pressure on the state's courts, where thousands of minor cannabis cases have piled up in recent years. Opponents warned it could lead to broader legalization, which North Dakota voters have rejected in past ballot measures. Critics of the defeat note that voters have never decided specifically on decriminalization alone. For now, small cannabis possession remains a criminal infraction in North Dakota, carrying fines up to $1,000 and required court hearings. And now, a word from our partners.
The cannabis industry is thriving, but it comes with its fair share of financial and regulatory hurdles. That's where Buds Group steps in. We simplify your back-office operations, handling everything from fundraising to payment solutions to HR services, so you can focus on growing your business. Our award-winning Accounting Buds division provides expert accounting and advisory services tailored to your needs. Are your taxes higher than you? Let us help. Visit us at budsgrp.com. That's budsgrp.com.
Montana lawmakers have found a compromise on how to spend the state's marijuana tax revenue. Two new bipartisan bills keep conservation funding intact while expanding support for law enforcement and addiction treatment programs. The legislation reallocates $33 million in cannabis tax funds across wildlife, police grants, and public health, and both measures now head to the opposite chambers for further debate.
While at the Ohio State University Policy Forum, former officials from the DEA and HHS cautioned that the Trump administration might indefinitely delay marijuana rescheduling unless President Trump directly champions the effort. Despite prior momentum from the Biden era, rescheduling proceedings have paused, partly due to administrative disputes within DEA hearings. Without explicit support from the Oval Office, experts predict the DEA might choose inaction as the easiest course. Trump's current drug policy priorities notably omit cannabis reform, and his appointed DEA leadership has historically opposed marijuana use, deepening concerns. For the cannabis industry and medical patients, a delay could mean continued barriers to tax deductions and research progress, reinforcing a critical need for high-level political advocacy.
It's Saturday morning. You're waking up, and so is the news. In just 10 minutes, get all the big cannabis stories from around the country. Fast, clear, nationwide. Subscribe and start your weekend informed.
Across the country, the future of hemp-derived products like Delta-8 THC is under intense debate as lawmakers, business owners, and public health officials wrestle with how to regulate a booming, but largely unregulated market. At the national level, lawmakers and hemp industry leaders gathered on Capitol Hill this week, warning that America's hemp marketplace is veering toward a full-blown crisis. At a House Oversight Committee hearing titled Restoring Trust in the FDA, witnesses criticized the Food and Drug Administration for failing to create clear national rules for hemp-derived intoxicants since hemp was federally legalized in 2018. Without regulation, products mimicking the effects of marijuana have flooded gas stations and online stores, often sold without age checks or safety standards. Industry leaders say farmers are suffering from collapsing hemp prices, and bipartisan frustration is growing. A new federal proposal could give the FDA authority to regulate hemp cannabinoids while allowing states to fine-tune their own rules, but change is still on the horizon, not yet reality. Meanwhile, at the state level, tensions are running just as high. In Texas, emotional testimony poured into the State Affairs Committee this week against Senate Bill 3 and House Bill 28, proposals that would severely limit or ban THC-infused hemp products. Veterans, patients, and business owners warned that banning these products could wipe out a thriving $8 billion industry and cut off access to natural therapies for chronic pain and other conditions. The bills remain pending, with public opposition mounting. In Alabama, lawmakers are moving forward with tighter regulations. House Bill 445, now advanced to the full House, would place consumable hemp products under the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board. The bill would limit sales to adults 21 and older, require rigorous lab testing, and impose licensing and tax rules, an effort to bring stricter oversight to edibles, drinks, and other hemp-derived products. Indiana is also close to passing its own regulations. Senate Bill 478, which passed its third House committee this week, would cap the number of retailers allowed to sell Delta 8 products, restrict sales to smaller stores, and give regulatory power to the state's Alcohol and Tobacco Commission. Lawmakers say it's time to bring order to a fast-growing market that until now has operated with few restrictions. But in Missouri, regulation has run into strong resistance. Senate Bill 54, which would have limited hemp-derived edibles and vapes to licensed marijuana dispensaries, stalled after a 7-hour bipartisan filibuster. Critics said the bill would unfairly favor large marijuana businesses and wipe out smaller hemp retailers. For now, Missouri's effort to regulate hemp-derived products is on hold.
This was the State of Cannabis News Digest, available weekly. You can listen to us on all main podcast platforms. To make sure you don't miss out on the latest updates and in-depth analysis of the cannabis industry, be sure to subscribe to our podcast. By subscribing, you'll get notifications for each new episode, helping you stay informed and ahead in the ever-evolving cannabis market. Join us next Saturday for more insights. Until then, keep thriving and stay green.